Bearcat Bounce Podcast, back at it again. Happy Sunday. Sunday off of bye week for football means that it's a special Sunday for basketball. Basketball is back. Bearcat basketball is back. Game 1 tomorrow night, Monday night. So we bring you a special Sunday night edition of the BBP to break down the season, break down the team, break down everything that's going to go into Wes Miller in year 2 of the Big 12. Wes Miller at the helm yet again. One of the best teams in the country and the best conference in the country. Don't give me that SEC stuff, but that's why we're coming to you on Sunday night. So Sunday night, I'm going to bring in my guys, the pals, the crew, the squad, we're all together to talk a little round ball. So without further ado, Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, Ryan Royer. Gentlemen, how are we?
Doing great.
Yeah.
Been a busy weekend.
Right.
My sleep schedule is completely out of whack, but you know, we got home from the concert Friday night at like 2:45.
Okay.
So, you know, and then now, although I guess the time change helps.
Right.
Moving it back an hour.
All
so but yeah, we had a good time, little father-daughter bonding time. Did you mention that this was the Cincy Light Studios, Brent?
Welcome into the Cincy Light Studios on BCJ. That's right, Cincy Light Studios. Shouts to Cincy Light. Shouts to Cincy Rain. Shouts to it all. That's a beautiful little, what do we call that? A light sign behind you. It's illuminating.
Bar
it's
sign. Yeah.
A bar sign. That is some heavy duty material right there. So welcome into the Cincy Light Studio here on the BBP.
And I don't generally drink during the shows anymore, but a little Cincy Light tonight.
Hey, baby.
It's the Cincy Rains koozie.
Hey, baby.
It's Sunday night. Kelsey's off school tomorrow. They've got Monday and Tuesday off.
Whoa.
For the election. So I guess they just scheduled so they don't go Monday, take off Tuesday.
Right.
So Monday and Tuesday off. Get to sleep in a little bit before Bearcat basketball tomorrow night. So a little Cincy Light night.
Hey, baby. A little Cincy Light night. Maybe a lot of Cincy Light night then. How about that?
You know what they always ask me when I go visit? You want to take some beer home? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The answer is always yes.
I mean, you're asking questions that don't need to be asked. I mean, the answer is yes. And we'll say yes for forever. So yeah, welcome into the Cincy Light Studio. That's an awesome sign right there. Little jersey action right here. There we go. There we go.
If you want one of these, all you got to do, it's very easy. You go to Cincy Light on Instagram, follow them on Instagram, and then tag a friend.
Okay.
And that will enter you to get a chance at one of these. We are giving away one from Bearcat Journal specifically. So get the little, you like that, Royer? Got the little 2-4 on there, little Cincy Light on the back.
24 pack.
That's what it's 2024 24 pack, multiple uses, multiple meanings. But it's very comfortable. Really good material, stitched in letters, like it's legit.
Yeah, I mean, I can see Roy rocking that on the grid come Saturday for pre-West Virginia. But
I can't wait.
Big time Cincy Light Studios. Welcome, man.
And we're trying to get these for sale. We're working on it. Hopefully, I'll have some details.
There's been enough, action wanting them.
Groundswell.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I need that for the man cave. Every single man cave could use that. I mean, I'm surprised you have some space for all that in the background. That's really filling out nice behind you, though, Chad. I tell you what.
It is.
And
it is. And I wanted it to be organic. I didn't want it to I was forcing stuff onto the walls. I wanted it to grow organically. My brother did this sign, and we got the team ticker. I got the Bearcat Journal one up here, Cincy Light. We're getting there.
It's getting there, man. I tell you what, that team ticker is going to fire up tomorrow around 7 p.m. for the first of many basketball games. I'm excited for that. But Chad, real quick, how was the concert? What is it as magical as all my friends are saying? That
she's an awesome performer. I mean, it's not really musically not my cup of tea. But through osmosis of being around it, like I know all the songs.
Right.
And it's like she's got to walk 10 miles like during the show. Like,
yeah,
that stage is like 75 yards long.
Right.
It's massive. And she's just like, it's a lot. But yeah, she puts on a great show. It was a good time. We had fun.
Yeah, I mean the rigorous workout plan that she went through to prep for this tour was pretty impressive, that from what I saw and heard. So yeah, well, congrats. Best Father Award goes to Chad for the weekend. See if you can continue to carry that torch. But yeah, that's Ed with a stat to start off stats. She gets her 10,000 steps in per show. Congratulations.
I think she gets her 10,000, my 10,000,
right.
Ed's 10,000.
Yep. Aaron's 10,000 because he loves T Swift.
She doesn't get anything from me. Chill out on that. She gets nothing from me.
Oh,
nothing.
You're coming around. You're coming around. We're gonna go to the next one that she has. I mean, what is this one of the last ones? So we'll see. We'll see.
Tonight's the last American show.
Wow. Au revoir. Head on over to
see ya
to the coast. But Aaron, man, how are we?
Just fine. Bengals won. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, quite the bounce back from last week. But I mean, you're playing the Raiders, so. But hey, touchdown Desmond Ritter. Good toss there in the garbage minutes. It was pad statting time for both teams at that point. But good to see Dez out there in Cincy. Royer's old gunslinger out there throwing the rock. So good to see that. But yeah, I agree. Big win. Let's hope it continues on through the week. Royer, the boy, how are we? Happy basketball eve, Royer.
You're muted, Royer. We need you to unmute to talk, buddy.
Maybe he can't hear us.
My connection keeps going in and out.
There you are.
Are you having a rough Sunday, buddy?
Yeah. Every Sunday's rough before work.
Yeah. Scary's hitting. Oh
yeah.
But hey, how are we, Royer? Welcome
I'm
back.
good.
You had a little week off, so full strength.
Yeah.
On this, Bearcat basketball eve, man.
Yeah, man. It was a good weekend. Rough week for my sports fandom. That definitely everyone. Bearcats not playing. They didn't give me a chance to kind of revive the sorrow. My Blue Jackets are looking kind of good though, except they got beat 7-2 yesterday. But
okay,
they were the sparkle of hope in my sporting life so far. But no, it was a good weekend. Dressed up as a minion with my girlfriend for Halloween. That was an eventful night on Friday.
Heck yeah.
Had minion gloves and everything, man. It was pretty epic. Saturday, my buddy came in from out of town, went over to RP McMurphy's. Brent, have you been over there?
Heck yeah.
I feel like that's a spot you've hit.
Oh yeah. Rocket.
Yeah, one of my buddies, he hit $5,000 scratch off.
Oh gosh.
And he just like bought a tab at RP's and come on through, guys. So that was fun.
The night's on
good
me.
Move. It's a good ass friend right there. Shout out.
Yeah.
I won't drop his name so people don't try to go rob him or something,
Right. How much of that 5K you got left, buddy? Come on. Well,
people be scratching and clawing at his door, man. That 5K, it's life changing.
It is out here, man. It is. Gosh, I'll tell you what. Yeah, Halloween was fun. I dressed up as a taco, and I was walking around. So I told everyone I was a walking taco. And I don't know if people down in Florida really understand what a walking taco is because they kind of just all looked at me. So I was like, maybe it's a Midwest
thing?
Concession thing. Maybe I don't know. I was expecting more people to be like, "Oh, walking taco, I love those," but I didn't get that response. I was a lot more just like, "Oh, cool." I'm like, all right.
I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah. All right. See you later, Tinkerbell. Whatever you're dressed up as. So yeah, it was a fun little weekend. That's for doggone sure. But wild college football Saturday. No football for the Bearcats this weekend. So obviously we have this special Sunday night where we're going to talk about what is going to fire up tomorrow, tip off. Little basketball, college basketball's back. One of my favorite times of the year where everything kind of meshes as one. We had what's it called? The
Equinox.
The Equinox. The Equinox happened last Monday where, all the professional teams played at once, but now this for the next couple months is where football and basketball meet, and I am a happy lad. So, but before doing that, if you're planning on going to the game tomorrow, Arkansas Pine Bluff, if you will, maybe head over to Danco Transmission Auto Care. Get your car worked on first. You don't want to start game one off. Don't want to start the season off with a car issue that you could have easily gotten handled over at Danco Transmission Auto Care before you fired things through. So head on over to Danco Joe. He'll get it worked up. Danco Transmission Auto Care. $10 off next oil change. 10% off next fixing. We love Danco Joe. So guys, it is here. All of the practices of the summer are out of the way. The off-season number one without needing the little birdies, because Chad was the birdie himself. Surprise. A charity exhibition game, a not so secret scrimmage out of the way. AP ranking for the first time in years. Heading into the season, a loaded Big 12. 5 teams in the top 10, the first time in the AP poll and forever that a conference has 5 teams in the top 10. This is a exciting time to be a Bearcat fan. So I'm just going to open it up, guys. What are your feelings heading into just obviously game one tomorrow? Ken Pom has the Bearcats predicted to win by like 32 points. So it's going to be one of those where you come out and you hope to just dominate from the opening tip. But when you and Aaron have your guys' aftermath tomorrow post game, what are you hoping the main storyline topic is following what's going to take place Monday night?
I don't know. I just hope they are able to control at this point. I mean, from what we've seen, control your turnovers. Obviously we want them to win in a dominant fashion. And who knows whether Day plays or not. And I think that probably plays into what those turnover numbers look like. Just depending on if I know he's available, at least as things are being reported on the old Twitter, but
it's the same thing I've been saying. Like I
understand
could play if they feel it's necessary.
I don't feel it's necessary. Personally, I'm okay if he sits out the first 2-3 games, whatever. But I'd still, either regardless who's in there, I think they need to just limit turnovers. Win by 15, 20. I'm still good with that. I don't care if Ken Pom has them at 32, whatever. And dominate on rebounds.
Okay. Chad?
No shitty lobs.
I want to see. I think we saw the starters play exceptionally well against Ohio State. You're going to get a lot of backup time in a game like this, hopefully. I want to see the bench like pop off a little bit and, come in with a lead and then take that lead and expand it, make it a little bit more dominating, if you will. And that's how you blow teams out, right? Your starters lay the foundation, and then your bench piles on when they get the time. That's what the best teams do. Let's see this team start in that direction. And when you get, Hickman and CJ Frederick and Arrington Page and Josh Reed and Rayvon Griffith, like, when that group is all out there, like let's see them kind of kick some butt too.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, Arkansas Pine Bluff, we are not going to do any sort of deep dive on them. Ken Pom has them 355th in the country. There's 364 teams in college basketball. So they are a team that, it's a good way to start the season, you would hope, with just kind of being able to go out there and showcase what you have, kind of tinker along with some lineups, because, against Ohio State in the charity exhibition, they they kind of did those hockey shift changes. I imagine there will be more set up, rotations, if you will, trying to see who plays well with who, this, that, and the other. Because obviously off the bench in the charity exhibition was Day, who kind of went off a little bit and had the turnovers, like Aaron said, but still he was scoring at will, had a lot of explosive plays towards the basket. So interested to see if he plays or anything at all tomorrow. I don't think it's necessarily needed, but yeah, I agree. I think the main thing coming out of tomorrow would just be, wow, look at who popped off the bench. I mean, if you look back at last year's season opener against UIC, the starters, you had Odio Guama starting, you had Victor Locken starting, you had, CJ Frederick played a bunch in that game. It's for all the continuity coming back this season. It was kind of a different look in the beginning of last year because you kind of just didn't really fully know certain question marks about eligibility and different things that kind of muddied those waters coming into the year. But this year it's all systems go. So tomorrow, 7 p.m., Arkansas Pine Bluff, Bearcats pack in action. It's going to be exciting. And then I got another one on Friday. So let's do everyone's favorite thing. Chad always asks me to make sure to get these going, for the season previews. It's my favorite time. So without further ado, there he is. Let's fire it up. We'll do biggest strength heading into the season. Biggest strength of the entire team can be as simple as saying the front court, could be as simple as saying, wings, or it could be a little bit deeper of a dive, if you will. We'll go with Chad. We'll work our way around. Let's get some discussion going, boys.
I'm going to go rebounding. I think this has the chance to be like a really damn near elite rebounding team. You've got size, you've got length, you've got guys that are comfortable rebounding at most positions. You've got a guy in Dan that's kind of, a rare guard wing that his superpower is rebounding. Dylan Mitchell can really hit the glass. Aziz is a good rebounder. I think that they have a chance to win some games because of the way that they control the glass. So, I wonder off the bench, like who's going to be, because you've got some shooting off the bench. You've got some playmaking, some quickness off the bench. Who off the bench? Because that's not really something that's been a strength of Arlington Page. Josh does a pretty good job at it. I think Rayvon can be a strong rebounder, but I think that's the only question I have on like who's really going to be like the guy that comes from that second group that earns their minutes by rebounding.
Right.
And, but other than that, like, I think it's translatable game to game with the group that they have, that they're going to rebound at a really high level all season.
They were number one in rebounding margin in the Big 12 last year. Obviously, they kind of went with that twin tower jumbo approach that they kind of nixed, midway through the season. To be honest with you, going into the year, it was kind of like, oh, wow, interesting that so many 6'11" up players on the roster available. But in today's day and age in basketball, that's a tough thing to go out there and really throw out against all this athleticism that a lot of teams place, and positionless basketball, if you will. So understanding to have that rebounding thing, but I think, like you said, it had a lot more to do with Dan Skillings being a big time rebounder and rebounding at all the other positions as well. So 7.2 rebounding margin, tops in the Big 12, 16th in the country. So you add Dylan Mitchell to that. Ooh, oh baby.
Yeah, I mean, John Newman was a good rebounder, but he wasn't like,
yeah.
And I think Dylan Mitchell is right. So you're returning most of a team that rebounded at an extremely high level a year ago, and you're adding a guy that is going to make you better at rebounding the basketball. I think it's got a chance to be a top 10 rebounding. I'll be surprised if it's not top 20. I think it's got a chance to be a top 10 rebounding team in the country.
Yeah. I mean, Dylan Mitchell he's ranks as a player rater in both offensive and rebounding, offensive and defensive rebounding percentage last season. So and he played with a lot of bigs at Texas as well. So I'm all in on the rebounding side for the Bearcats, because obviously last year we had numerous times where it was looking like this is an elite rebounding team, but I do think that this is the season where they kind of just take that extra step. Aaron, what are you throwing out there for biggest strength?
I'm gonna say dunks, because
Okay.
I truly think that this team is going to be high flying. I think that this team has an opportunity to actually have some like momentous dunk sessions. Like I know like the Melvin Levitt dunk sticks out in everybody's head. There's a handful of dunks from the past that stick out in everybody's head, but literally everybody on this team can fly. And between dunks and even like just down low layups and such, I think those numbers are going to go up significantly from last season. I think that they have solidified that area, partially to Chad's point, the rebounding that I think is going to assist in that.
There'll be some nasty tip dunks. I'll get there are going to be some nasty tip dunks this year.
Well, I'm curious though if there's like a dunk that kind of puts a game away or wins a game, because I think that that's also possible with this team, and kind of become an iconic dunk for the Cincinnati Bearcats. And I know I joke about dunks all the time, so I saw Chad roll his eyes as soon as I mentioned dunks, but I truly think that there's an opportunity, not just because I love dunks, but also because I think that is a genuine strength of this team.
You're just playing the hits, Aaron. I get it.
Just rock the hits. Wait and sit. All right, Royer. Your time to shine. Basketball talk with Ryan Royer. Biggest strength, brother.
I think it's going to be depth for these guys. I think they got a good 8 guys that are coming. They're all capable of producing, and you got CJ too. If we can keep him healthy, he's a producer that we didn't even get to see last year much. But I think adding Hickman, adding Mitchell, I think Page, he could be a guy you could bring in there too to get your bigs a rest, and Day. I think we have a lot of guys that can come in, produce, and we're always going to have a good group of 5 on the court. I don't see a significant drop off on the bench. So I think that's what's going to be able to carry your team through the season. So you're not just running your starters into the floor every single night. Hopefully that gives them good momentum into quick turnaround games and stuff like that. But I think it's depth. I think we have a deep team,
and they might be even deeper than we think.
Yeah,
there's a growing chance that when they brought in Halvine Zealot,
okay,
the plan was to redshirt.
Okay,
that was the plan all around, and part of that was because sometimes when guys are coming over, the academic stuff is wonky,
right.
So the plan was to redshirt, and then Tyler McKinley blew out his knee.
Yeah.
And then they found out that they could submit a waiver and potentially get Halvine eligible.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a pretty good chance he's going to get the waiver. I'm confident saying I think he's going to get the waiver. Now it will come down to, do they still want to redshirt him and stick with the original plan, or do they want to play him? He has surprised me at practice. He is farther along than I anticipated him to be. He's got actually a decent back to the basket game. I've seen him pass it really well. He gets in the passing lanes on defense. He rebounds. He knows how to play. He's got a good feel for, he picked things up pretty quickly. Is he all the way up to speed? No, he hasn't been here all that long.
Right.
But he got up to speed pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't think we see him tomorrow night, because I think this is still an evolving situation.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, if it was me, I think I would play him. You need depth on the interior. McKinley's gone. I don't think you want Dylan Mitchell to be your third center. I think you would love, like, if Dylan Mitchell is a change of pace and you want to, like, mix it up and, like, throw something different, playing Dylan Mitchell at center. I don't think you want him, like, if Aziz gets in foul trouble or if, somebody misses a game or two with a sprained ankle, I don't think you want Dylan Mitchell being your number 2 center.
No.
So, but I'm feeling good that it gets approved. I just don't know where the decision is going to come on, does he actually get on the floor or not? But it sounds more and more like that's going to be an option if everything goes as I've heard.
And you have the first 6 games. Obviously the road trip to Georgia Tech is tough. And road trip to NKU, obviously you don't want to sleep on that one after what happened a couple of years ago. But those first 6 games, you do have a chance to kind of get your legs underneath you. Arkansas Pine Bluff, Morehead State, Nichols, then NKU, Georgia Tech, and then Alabama State at home. So, the month of November is a good chance to try and, get some game action for a player like Halvine.
Or it's a chance to see, are we going to need him?
Right, exactly, yeah.
Are we going to be okay without him, or is this a situation where we could really use an extra 5 on the roster?
Okay. Wow. How about that? That's if you're listening, that's a pretty darn big nugget right there. So yeah, hopefully the whole waiver, golly, let's.
I don't look. If we're being honest, I don't think the NCAA is any interest in denying waivers anymore.
Yeah, I think
that was
last season,
bad business for them.
They were bad last year. They said, all right, well, we got to put an end to that because everyone is against us on this scenario. So yeah, we'll see. Obviously it was a thing that ended up working out in UC's favor after a while though last season. So this could be another good thing. When it comes to my biggest strength, I agree with everything that you guys are saying, but I just think that the starting 5 and sure, some is a little interchangeable here and there, but just the length, the athleticism, the scoring ability of the Jizzle, Dan Skilling, Seamoss, Dylan Mitchell, Aziz Bandago, that those 5 it's pretty breathtaking, to be honest. You saw them out there in the charity exhibition before they took on Ohio State, and it was a stark difference between a Big Ten team and a Big 12 team, and we were the ones that kind of had that length, that size, that ability differential that on in our favor. It was just a refreshing thing to see, and when they lock in defensively, they look to be pretty doggone elite when it comes to just that starting 5. So you mix that with Royer's depth piece, you mix that with Chaz rebounding and Aaron's high flying dunks, and it's pretty damn exciting season ahead. We'll go a little dark real fast. Biggest weakness. I think that we've kind of touched on these in previous weeks, but obviously heading into game 1, we're going to kind of look a little bit closer to see if that biggest weakness is going to try and be tinkered or fixed. And I'm going to start with Royer on this one and then work around to Aaron and the Chad. Royer, what do you think the biggest weakness is heading into the year?
It's kind of hard. I haven't really thought of that one. Yeah. Maybe I don't want to say like injuries. I don't know. That could be something. The possibility of injuries. I guess the only guy who's kind of banged up right now is Day. And you had Seamoss last year get hit by the car and stuff. That could. I don't know. It seems kind of like a stupid answer though.
No.
Maybe just not like, having too many guys that are quality and not being able to play enough guys and, that kind of not being able to get enough playing time spread out around the guys, not being able to retain dudes going into the future. That could be a weakness. But I don't really know one. I mean, I don't know. I'd be interested to see what you guys say.
Okay. Aaron, what you got?
I got a couple.
Yeah.
Until we see it, perimeter shooting. I'm still nervous about what we've been able to improve upon in the perimeter shooting since last season, specifically with several players, namely Dan Skillings, Jizzle, Day, and we'll see from there. I mean, if truly, if Connor Hickman and Seamus are your only reliable, and I guess CJ Frederick are your only reliable 3-point shooters, that's a little frightening. So we'll see what the shock doctor was able to prescribe in the offseason to get things going. But like I said, I'm totally open to changing my mind. Just we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
And that's one of the things I was going to get to, Aaron. And really where it comes into play is your starting five. Because really, Dylan Mitchell's never made a three in his college career. He's started 72 games. He's never made a three.
Didn't even attempt one last season.
Yeah. Aziz is not a 3-point shooter. And then you have Jizzle and Dan that shot under 30% last year. So Seamus in that starting group is your only floor spacer. I mean, you have to be cognizant of Dan.
Yeah.
But like, you're not, if you go back the beginning of last season, I think Lepore and I did a video on like why CJ Frederick was so important. And he showed a couple clips of them running offense, and CJ's guy just can't leave him. Like, he can't take two steps in help because CJ's got that ability to just catch and fire. I don't know in your starting five outside of Seamus of anybody that impacts help defense in that fashion. So then it makes it more imperative that you're moving the ball, you're driving, you're making smart passes off of the drives, and you're getting open rhythm shots for guys that, I mean, this team desperately needs Jizzle and Dan to be 33 plus, 33, 35%. They're not going to be 40% shooters. Like, they're just not. That's not who they are.
Right.
But 33 to 35% instead of 28, and now all of a sudden those guys have to be respected more. That gives Seamus more space, and the other thing is, what's really hard, like a lot significantly harder to do? Rebound missed threes. Those are a crapshoot. Like, and it helps that Cincinnati's got guys that can rebound out of area, but that's a crapshoot. And that's, if you're missing a lot of threes, that is a way to negate your decided advantage on the glass. So it's a very good one, Aaron.
Thanks.
I felt like the way they were shooting by that Big 12 tournament, I think Day was showing his ability to shoot. I think adding Hickman, and I think, Dan, I think that's been it seems like the emphasis this offseason for him is working on his shot, and that's kind of like the one side of his game that is like lacking in terms of all the other things. And you kind of, I don't know, in a perfect world, Dan has a better shot. Day shooting the ball like he did in the last couple games, and you already know I think Jizzle's gonna have more confidence. Throwing CJ, throwing Hickman, Seamus is Seamus. I didn't feel like they would be. I feel like it's gonna take a good step this year, but I could see why if we end up kind of on the same track as last year, it would be.
Ryan, they were last in the Big 12 in 3-point shooting last year. Like, there is a significant jump that can be taken. They have to take it. So
I think they have the guys, and I think if CJ can stay healthy, I think that's a big boost in the right direction. And Hickman.
Here's the concern, though. When those guys are on the floor, it means one of those top 5 guys is off. And there's you're gonna need your depth, and you're gonna. But in looking at this roster, and yes, I like their depth, but you're gonna be at your best when those 5 guys are on the floor, as long as we see that improvement from the perimeter. So if not, then you have to play Hickman and you have to play CJ Frederick considerably more so that you've got some spacing. But if you're doing that, you're not as good on defense. You're not as good on the glass. So there's a give and take, that will be answered if Jizzle and Dan are more prolific from 3. Michael Boston hits on kind of the one I've touched on quite a bit. Like, if you look around at all of the top 100 lists, top 100 players in college basketball, none of them have a Bearcat.
Yep.
There is not, at least on the eve of the season, there's nobody that's considered to be a star on this team. I think everybody looks at them and says, man, they got a lot of really, really good pieces.
Right.
But they don't look at them and say, when they play Kansas, Houston, Baylor, Arizona, Iowa State, that they're going to have the best player on the floor.
Yeah.
You know, so that somebody has to night to night, and it might not be the same guy because they have, I think, 4 guys that can be on like an all-conference type team.
Yeah.
If things break well for them.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're going into every game and the other team has the best player, that makes me a little nervous, especially in this league where 20 games, 10 weeks, everybody's going to be beat up. Every game is going to come down to the wire. Every game is going to rely on like who's got the guy that's going to make a play. Cincinnati isn't projected to have a top 100 player in the country. And based on those projections, most every team in the Big 12 has a team on those lists. Some of them have 2, 3 guys on those lists.
Right.
So you're in a situation where you're going to have to prove that the sum is greater than the whole of its parts. And on any given night, guys are going to have to step up and equal whatever the other team has in terms of like their go-to guy or whatever. So
yeah.
Not having a star, I think this is a team that legitimately, I think Jizzle, Dan, Seamoss, and Dylan are going to average double digits. Like I think you're going to have 4 guys that average double digits, and I think Day can get close, like 8, 9 points a game. I think Connor can get close. I think if CJ is healthy and shoots the 3 like we think he can, CJ can be in that 7, 8, 9 points a game range. Right. But you don't have a 20, right? You just don't have yet. Maybe Jizzle is that guy. We've seen flashes of it. Dan has shown flashes of being like a 16, 17 point a night guy. But in honor of Marvin Lewis today, Marvin Lewis didn't get his revenge on Marvin Lewis Day. But in honor of Marvin Lewis, I see better than I hear. I need to see it. I need to see it in these big games that these guys are going to step up and prove the people that made all those top 100 lists wrong that Cincinnati's got a couple. That's my biggest concern.
You know, Matt Lanham in the chat mentions Jizzle, and that's kind of the sexy name that a lot of people are saying is. I think it's just because like Jizzle is just, you know, you saw flashes last year, and everyone wants Jizzle to be like a star, but I mean, you have just some true veterans out there that have star potential as well. And you know, I was listening to a national podcast, you know, Big 12 preview a couple weeks ago, and Matt Norlander mentioned that he thinks maybe Aziz Bandago is the best player on Cincinnati's team. So it's just literally all over the place. Yeah, I know. I don't agree either. But he has intangibles.
I like Matt Norlander. Yeah. I like Matt Norlander.
Right.
Yeah,
I know. But believe me, I heard it and I was like,
I'm not saying you said it.
Right.
I'm saying I don't agree with Matt Norlander.
Yeah.
Just out here creating new talking points. Well done, sir. Well done.
Yeah. I mean, but like the fact that you even can have a national analyst even throw out Aziz's name, it just shows the amount of true talent that is on the team. And for me, it's pretty jaw dropping to see how many different players led the team in scoring last year, you know, throughout the course of the season. And
most of them are back.
Most of them are back. I mean, surprisingly, Vic Locken had a handful of games in the beginning of the year, and you know, obviously Newman had a couple of games here and there, but it's pretty jaw dropping to see how many different players affected games and how many different like ways throughout the season. I think if Dan Skillings can keep his, you know, we talked about Stetson Dan last year. If you guys remember that, he dropped 29 points against Stetson off the bench. He just needs consistency, and you know that's kind of something that was lacking last year for him. And I think Jizzle, obviously, the end of the year had that little blow up. I think Day is kind of a bit of an underrated name. Obviously, the injury, whatnot, the side of things. It's kind of deterring the full in on him. But when it comes for me, weakness wise, I agree with shooting. Just knowing what they can expect game in and game out from deep, because each of the last 3 seasons, Wes Miller's teams have set records in the history of Cincinnati basketball programs on most 3-pointers attempted and most 3-pointers made. Each season they've had, obviously 2 years ago with Landers was the year that they went bonkers, making a bunch and shooting a bunch. But Wes's teams like to shoot the 3. Skillings went 40 for 140 last year. Day went 35 for 125 last year. Those are a lot of missed threes, and like you said, Chad, those are hard ones to rebound as well. So if they can just develop some consistency from deep and show that you do have a couple of the other floor spacers out there without CJ or Connor in the lineup, with CMOS and maybe Dan on a consistent clip, I think that'd be huge. But yeah, the weaknesses aren't too glaring. I think also saw someone, John White 17. Shouts to John White 17. Yeah, the whole front court, if Aziz gets in foul trouble, or as we saw last year, knock on wood, that Aziz kind of having a bit of an injury bug at times as well. So, who can develop as that backup? And if Chad mentioned earlier, there might be a break glass in case of emergency type option as well. So, fascinating to see. Let's go ahead and go with our guesses for leading scorer real quick, because obviously last season it was Dan Skillings Jr. led the team with 12.9 points per game. Second was CMOS. Obviously he blew up in the latter half of the year, averaged 11.8 points per game. Day 10.4. So those were the 3 leading scorers, and then Jizzle obviously 8.8 points. A lot of spread out scoring throughout the season. As I mentioned, it was a pretty fascinating to kind of break down the whole scoring. That Day led the team in scoring in 3 games and was second leading scorer in 7, so 10 total games. Dan Skillings 18 total games, either leading or second on the team. Jizzle had 11. CMOS had 14. So kind of that leading or second scorer, you kind of had a lot of those guys returning, and then surprisingly, CJ Frederick led the team in scoring in 3 games last year. So, leading scorer in this year's squad. Chad, you've been beating the CMOS drum when it comes to this question. Are you still gonna be in that camp?
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I just think it's for the same reason, kind of that you hinted at here, and Dan makes an argument for that as well. But just the consistency of, I think he's going to be in that 12, 13, 14 point range on like on most nights. Yeah, he'll have a night or two that he's cold, but I just think he's going to be the most consistent. And I think they're going to run a lot for him. They're going to rely on him to, they know now they can run plays that are going to get CMOS open and get him like a really quality shot. So the problem is I think you're going to see like I said, I think 4 guys from like 11 to 15.
Yeah.
So, any one crazy like 28-point night impacts that, because it bumps your season average up like a point a game.
Mm-hmm.
So who's going to have, 1 or 2 of those that separate them on a group that I think it's going to be close to the top? I just think CMOS is going to be the most consistent. So, I'll go with CMOS, but it could be Dan. It could be Dylan. It could be Jizzle. Like, it could go a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the guy who starts with the ball in his hands, and I think it's going to be Jizzle James. Last year we saw him kind of go score first, pass second, and I know this year he's already talked about wanting to be a team guy and spread the ball out more, and think about scoring as his second option. I just don't know that you can.
He's not wired for scoring to be his second option.
I don't know that you can just do that.
That's not how he's wired.
Especially when you get into the flow of the game, and if things get close and you want to try and be the guy, I think he's going to want to try and take that step forward as much as everybody's been talking about him. And again, if the ball is starting in his hands, it's going to be hard to take it out of his hands. So I think it's going to be Jizzle James, simply because good luck getting that ball. You're going to have to be wide open.
Great.
I think, Aaron, the case, if you told me Jizzle shot 34% from 3, I'd be real close to being in your corner here.
How much does that open up his deep 2? Like, if you can fake them on the 3, because it's an actual legit 3.
You shot fake a closeout, take 2 dribbles, rise up and bang.
Or the other way, if you can shot fake at the 2 and do the David DeJulius step back. Man,
I don't ever count on anybody learning the step back, Aaron.
I know
step back is one of those
it's tough. You're either built
you
for
got
it or you're not.
Right. The step back is not one of those, I'm going to add a step back to my game. No, you don't do that.
It's kind of like trying to learn how to pass first and
right.
score.
I mean, Jizzle's mid-range J was just automatic at times last year. It was just like and obviously, that's a shot that you don't love those deep 2s, but Jizzle was making a lot of them. And it was kind of just like, okay, I mean, I guess shoot him.
It's still a bad shot, even if you make them, but I'll take the guy that makes them.
Exactly. So if he can just extend that out another 5 feet and he's splashing from 3, then that'd be massive. Royer, who you got? So far we got
on the CMOS train.
Okay. I like it. I'm gonna beat the Dan Skillings drum. I just think it's just, he's a NBA prospect. He's a guy that, Wes said scratching the surface over and over and over again when it came to, Dan Skillings. And if that is the case all throughout a sophomore season, and then now all of a sudden junior year is where he kind of takes off, he attempted over 11 shots a game. Second was CMOS with about 9. And Day had 9 shots a game as well. So I just think that there was kind of a concerted effort for Dan to kind of hunt his shot at times. And, I think a lot more set plays are ran for CMOS at times throughout the year last year, but
it's because CMOS was better on set plays.
Right. Exactly. So I just see this team getting up and down a lot this year.
That's the thing, Brent. Like, that's where Dan can take that jump is if they are outrunning a lot, he's going to be on the receiving end of a lot of those balls.
As long as he's on the receiving end and not the starting end, because the starting end,
I mean, it's pretty crazy if you go like the last 18 games of the year. Pretty much CMOS and Dan were exactly like averaging right around 14.7, 14.8 points per game, both of them. Yeah. So that's a dynamic 2 punch. Yeah. And you got Dylan, who he wasn't really lighting up the scoreboard at Texas, but he still had what I believe it was
at 10.
Yeah, well, he led the team in scoring in 2 games, and that was against UConn and Kansas. Pretty damn good teams to lead the team in scoring. He was second in 3 games, Houston being one of those. But he was the leading rebounder in 16 games last year for Texas, which leads me to the next question. Who's going to lead the team in rebounding? I mean, obviously, number 1 last year was Aziz Bandago. He averaged 7.4 rebounds per game. Dan Skillings, right there. Second, 6.4 rebounds per game. Vic Locken leaves, and he had 6 a game. So is it Dylan that's going to kind of take all of those Vic Locken rebounds and a couple away from Aziz to lead the team in rebounding, or Dan going to continue to do it from the wing, or is it going to be Aziz?
Go ahead.
I think it's Dylan Mitchell. I truly think it's going to be Dylan Mitchell. Just having done it before in this league, there's something to be said for that. He's no stranger to what the Big 12 brings night in, night out. He's more athletic than Aziz. I think Aziz is probably going to be okay giving some of those up to him as well. And if you got a guy who's doing that, I don't even know that Dan has to be going for some of those that he was necessarily going for. Again, if you know you got somebody down low who's doing that. Dan was playing out of that 4 spot, and if Dan is on the floor with him, I would think that he's going to be getting a lot of those Dan rebounds. So I don't know. I'm leaning Dylan Mitchell for all the reasons.
Okay.
Ryan, you got an opinion?
I think Aziz, because I think Aziz is going to be anchored down like more inside in the paint more than Mitchell. So I think it's going to give him a little bit more opportunities, even though Mitchell is a little bit more athletic. I think that's Aziz's. It's going to be Aziz's main role, whereas I think Mitchell has like more to his game than Aziz does. So it might take him kind of away from rebounding. Not that he's not going to rebound a shit ton, but just not as much as Aziz.
Yeah. I agree, Ryan. I'm going Aziz. I think it'll be close with him and Dylan, but I think you're right that Aziz is going to be around the rim more, where Dylan is going to be asked to be that Swiss Army knife that can guard the perimeter, guard the paint, like do a little bit of everything depending on whatever defensive scheme they're in for that game. But yeah, I think Aziz by a fairly narrow margin over Dylan, just from being in and around the paint more often.
Yeah, and and also if you saw in that Ohio State game, Dylan was out on the perimeter switching every ball screen and just aggressive on ball defense.
So here's the thing that's important, I think, to like put in your mind is on offense, CMOS is going to play the 3 and Dylan's going to play the 4.
Yeah.
On defense, I think that's going to be switched. I think Dylan is going to be guarding the perimeter
kind of
a lot more than like he's a different type of defender than Newman. Like he's not as he's not rubber, like made of rubber and like the Jello, where like Newman could get over top of everything and just
screens.
Like,
it was insane.
And there's very few that can do that. It's such a difficult thing to just not get caught up on a screen ever.
Right.
But I think you're going to see Dylan like tasked with guarding the other team's best perimeter guy, whether it be a 3 or a 4. So yeah, I think that's valid.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Aziz as well. I just think that he, it kind of opens up the door for Dylan to kind of go aggressively at block shots as well, knowing that you have a willing and capable rebounder like Aziz down there to kind of clean up the glass if Dylan does go for him. But yeah, John White's on the skilling train for this one as well. Dan had multiple double doubles last year, multiple games where he was 10 plus rebounds. So that's not out of the realm of possibilities either.
He's one of the best rebounding, like true wings, like not a stretch 4, like a 3. Like he's one of the best rebounding true wings in the country. There's very few that can go get it the way that Dan can. There's times it makes no sense.
Right.
Like his go gadget arms will go get a ball that you're like, did I just see that right? Like,
or he keeps going up. He keeps going up on a jump where you should be coming down by now. Why are you still going up?
Yeah.
It's crazy. I agree. It's fascinating to see what they're going to be able to do defensively with all that length and athleticism. So I would be okay with all 3 of those leading the team in rebounding. Blocks / steals, we'll just add them together. Obviously, Day is a menace at stealing the balls. I believe he was set the most steals in a single season since Kashmir Wright. Had one year where he went off in that category as well. Then obviously you have Dylan Mitchell and you have Aziz in the block department. But if you combine those 2 together, who do you think overall will have the biggest defensive impact when it comes to either on ball defense, whether it be protecting the rim? You had Aziz average 1.7 blocks per game. Steal wise, it was 1.7 steals per game for Day. So who's kind of going to be that defensive ace for the team next season? This season.
Gonna go first, Ryan.
I liked what I saw. I don't know, man. It's hard. I don't know. I'm gonna pause. You gotta go, Aaron.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
gonna sit on this one for a sec.
I'm gonna double down on Dylan Mitchell from what I've heard, from what I've seen in the limited footage that's made its way to Twitter. But just everything that we've heard is he can be a guy who can defend on the perimeter and such. We know that he can defend down low. We saw the block that turned into a transition basket on the other end with an amazing dunk. But I think that if you're able to do that, because if we're looking at the starting five and thinking about it, Jizzle, we've heard that he has improved his defense. We need to see it. Dan has also been a guy that at times has been a little bit of a liability on defense. Seamas has certainly been a liability on defense. Aziz would be the only guy that I would put up against Dylan Mitchell right now. But I think the athleticism is going to afford opportunities for Dylan Mitchell that Aziz being down low is just simply not going to have.
I think we probably should all be in agreement on this one that it's Dylan.
Yeah.
I think Day would have a great case if I thought he was going to be over 20 minutes a game.
Right.
But I don't.
Right.
I think, you've got Jizzle, you've got Connor that's going to play some point guard as part of his role when Day comes back. So Dylan is going to be the guy that's going to be active in passing lanes, and he's going to block a shot a game. Somewhere in that vicinity, he's going to get one. So if he gets a steal or two a game and a block or two a game, like all of a sudden you're up over 3.5, I think, which was probably the number 3.5, the number you would need to be the leader at, in both categories. So weak side help. He can jump out of the damn gym. That's why he was a top 10 prospect in the country, is because of his athleticism. He's long, so he's going to be disruptive in passing lanes. He's going to give teams fits. I think Dylan is the easy choice here.
Yeah.
I was going back and forth on Day and Aziz, but I didn't really know much about Mitchell's defense. But it kind of seems like what makes Aziz the leading rebounder is also going to kind of give the opportunity to Dylan to kind of shine. So they kind of work against each other. But yeah, I mean, the way you guys are describing him, I would, that would make me want to jump on that side of the bandwagon. And what you're saying too about Day not being able to play as much, then I would have gave the edge to Aziz. But nah, you guys are selling me on Mitchell. I didn't know much about his defense.
Oh man, lock in tomorrow night, man. That is fun waiting to happen. Jared McCarty in the chat brings up a good point. Jizzle, we heard Wes talk about how much Jizzle has really stepped up his defense over in the offseason. If he can become a on-ball defender to the ilk of what Day was able to do at times last year, and really start to just amp up his steals per game. I mean, he'll finish with 18 total steals on the season last year, but over the last, what was it? Let's see here.
He gets after it on the ball.
Games. Yeah.
I love his energy, but he's young, so you got to learn how to use that energy the right way and not let it lead to mistakes. And I think he kind of got himself some trouble sometimes, but I think, getting that experience, having this offseason, getting to work with Wes and the coaches, I think I can see him also pushing for it.
Right.
The big thing, Ryan, is going to be, how is he off the ball? If he's in a position where he can make some plays now off the ball, where he's able to anticipate and jump some passing lanes and be disruptive, he's going to be disruptive on the ball. He's strong, he's physical, he's got quick hands. He's going to disrupt your ball handler. If you can add to that by getting, every other game you jump a pass, take it down for a dunk or start a fast break or whatever it is, then all of a sudden those numbers start to really, climb. And that's going to be his ultimate challenge. But the problem is he's not going to block shots. So if we're doing like a combined deal, then he's going to be at a disadvantage,
right?
Because he's not coming off the weak side to spank anything into the student section.
And he's not Day either, which is I mean Day's on ball defense is some of the best in the country, as Wes has said numerous times. We all saw throughout the season.
Day's another one of those guys that just wiggles over screens and you can't get a body on him.
Right.
That has not been something Jizzle has shown like to this point.
I do want to go back. Michael Boston had a good question here in the chat. Down to 10 seconds left with the ball after timeout. Who is on the floor? That's a pretty fun question, because obviously you've got Hickman who can shoot it. You got CJ who's shown the ability to shoot the three. I think you just say, heck, let's set up a play for CMOS, and then let him go do his thing. But are you leaving rebounding out there with Dylan and Dan and Aziz? It's a pretty fascinating question. Down to 10 seconds left. Who are the five out on the court?
Aaron, you want to go first? You want me to?
I can go first. I'm gonna put Jizzle out there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put Aziz at the 5. I'm gonna put Dan at the 4, CMOS at the 3, CJ at the 2.
I'm going Jizzle, and then I'm going with your 3 shooters. Hickman, CJ, CMOS, 2, 3, 4. And then I think I'm going Dylan at the 5.
Yeah, you don't need
I think I'm going Dylan at the 5.
Unless you're anticipating like a quicker shot. Like, I mean, theoretically the ball should be going through the net right around under a second. You're not really going to be banking on, a big rebound from Aziz. So I guess
unless you can get the lob.
There's no way they line up a lob to Aziz.
They have. No, they have.
They did?
Yeah, they've lined up a back cut lob to the rim for Aziz at the end of games.
If the other team has a guy who's like 6'8", 6'10" out there, why not?
I think you gotta have Dan. You gotta have Dan on the court. I think,
especially if the game's at home, I take the tie at home over trying to go for the win at home and hitting the 3.
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
I'd have Dan.
Maybe you at home. Maybe you substitute Dan for CJ. You go Jizzle, Connor, Dan, CMOS,
right,
and then Aziz or Dylan. I think I would go
to splash.
I think also game dependent, as well as like if Hickman's on that game, or if CJ's really on that game, you can kind of have them out there. I feel like it's going to bleed into my next question, but that was a good question for Michael Boston. And I agree. I think in that scenario as well, you don't need Aziz out there necessarily, because you can have the rebounding in Dan and in Dylan. But the fascinating thing, fascinating storyline that no one's really talking about coming into the season. I'm going to start off with mine, and it is CJ Frederick. He started, I believe it was the 7 games to begin the season last year. He
led the team in scoring in 3 of them.
Yeah, led the team in scoring in 3 of them. He was the prize transfer get out of the portal last year. He was one of the best shooters in the country. He has obviously the whole injury trial is something to watch. But what if he becomes a good piece off the bench that is just completely unexpected? Coming into the year, obviously, hope that he's fully healthy throughout the season. But what if he does kind of find just that magic from deep? It's a fascinating thing to see.
It's the John Newman question. We've talked about this. We wrote John Newman off going into last year. If you go back and watch this show from a year ago, we weren't talking a whole lot about John Newman.
No. It's because it's because we were the year before talking real high on John Newman,
and then he missed the whole year.
We all got burned, right?
Yeah.
But CJ missed essentially like 3/4 of the season, so he is back of mind, and we're not talking about him. And I've said it, he is still one of the top 5 pure shooters in the country. Like, that has not changed. He has not had upper body injuries.
Right.
And he broke his thumb like on a camera 2 years ago. But like, he is still a shooting machine. Like, if you watch him in practice, his catch and shoot is automatic. Like, you're just getting it out of the bottom of the net, and the net's barely moving. So, like, that is a weapon they have on their bench that we are not talking much about because he's not a transfer. We like, you know, not a transfer this year. We love talking about those guys, and we love talking about the 6 guys that were 6 of their 8 leading scorers from last year. But CJ is legitimately really good at basketball, and he can do the one thing that everybody in the country right now values at an extremely high level, and that's put it in the basket. So, yeah.
It's going to be fascinating to see what he does. And you know, obviously and how does Hickman, I mean, let's just be honest. It wasn't, and it was a charity exhibition game where there was really no flow. You're sending hockey ship, you know, line changes but Hickman didn't really have the greatest showing in that game, if you will. He had a good look from 3 that didn't fall, that probably will fall in the future. He had a couple good defensive plays, but he didn't really get his game going, it seemed like. So, you know, I'm excited to see how Hickman looks as well in these first few handful of games. Just a huge spark plug off the bench from aside Day, and then with CJ. I mean, geez, golly. Let's. I know, Aaron. It's excitement time over here.
Ned Flanders over here getting excited.
Yes, very much so. Quick. We'll just do real quick around. You don't have to do any explanation on why, but leading assist guy for the season. Leading assist guy, Chad, Aaron, Ryan. Go ahead.
Better be Jizzle.
Yeah.
If he's going to be your starting point guard, he better lead you in assists.
And he's going to have the rock.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it better be Jizzle.
Yeah. Only averaged 2.1 assists last year, so obviously gotta amp up that score. I mean, he averaged only 19.2 minutes per game. So with more minutes, you hope the assists come as well. Last year, Day led the team with 3.3. Simas right in second with 2.9. Hickman is coming in. I believe he led Bradley in assists in, I believe, 10 games last year. And throughout the season, obviously, that number continued to rise. He was there, so another good option to handle the rock and pass the rock. Real quick, there are 11 non-conference games. What is your guys' prediction heading into conference play or for the non-con record?
Look at it.
10-1.
10-1.
Okay. So obviously, go ahead.
Xavier's at home. I think they win that game. I think it's going to be a battle because Xavier does have a really good offensive team.
Right.
I think defensively is, you know, Cincinnati's defense is going to be better than Xavier's defense. One of the at Georgia Tech, at Villanova, Dayton, neutral. I think they beat Dayton, but one of the road games, I think they slip up.
Yeah, Nova will be the big tough one. I think and maybe, you know, if Day is obviously we're going to see what happens in these first handful of games, but that Georgia Tech game kind of coming early in the season, you know, if you don't have kind of a set backup rotation, whether it be, you know, point guard scenarios and whatnot. So at Georgia Tech, obviously they had some sneaky good wins there, but I mean, I'm probably way too high on this team, as I very much am most seasons. So, right. So I think they win out in the non-con. I'm not fully buying in on the Villanova thing. I think that'll be kind of the the game that Wes circles for everyone to kind of say, oh wow, since he's for real. And then
I sneaky would be worried about Georgia Tech because UC beat that ass last year.
True. Yeah.
They're good. They have talent. I think Damon Stoudemire is a good coach. I think they are going to be like
they're going to say this. Yeah, they're going to say, y'all remember what happened last year when they were literally having a celebration
on us this year. We got the rank.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the first big game of the non-conference slate. It's on the road.
And it's on ACC Network Plus or whatever.
Didn't they get some good transfers? They got some good transfers too, if I'm not mistaken.
They're going to be good. They're going to be good.
Yeah, there's definitely and Day. Let's hope Day has a game or two under his belt at that point, coming back. And let's hope that AP is showing some strength at the backup 5. I don't know. Yeah. So
if we can go 10-1, 11-0, it's setting up a huge that Arizona game at Fifth Third, January 4th.
Don't sleep on Kansas State at Kansas State to open the
Oh no, I'm just saying
but I'm saying you need to win that Kansas State game because you're coming up on a stretch at home that is, oof. Woo!
Well, I was just saying how much fun that
it's gonna be a blast. But what I'm saying is if you come off a loss to Kansas State, it's gonna be a little less
deflates it.
Enthusiastic. Like if you beat Kansas State, you open the Big 12 slate 1-0 and you're coming home and it's Arizona and you're 11-1 and you're off to a good start in the conference. Like that would be an electric atmosphere.
Do you think it would be? It'd probably be the most electric it's been. I can't think of something that's maybe, yeah.
And Texas last year was electric. They just
Dylan Mitchell talked. Yeah, Dylan Mitchell talked about it in his presser. He said that
it was the first real Big 12 home game. And it was nip and tuck. Like it was that place was on fire for that game. They won't get remembered. It's much like the Russ Smith game at UC. That was one of the loudest games I've ever been to in my entire life.
Yeah. What is that?
But Louisville wins the game.
Yeah.
Louisville, SK's senior year, Russ Smith's senior year. UC went down there, beat them at Louisville, and then back here, it was nip and tuck the entire game, and both teams were in the top 10. It was an incredible atmosphere.
Russ Smith, the game winner.
Yeah, he had a game winner from 16 feet on the left corner, left wing, that shut the place up real quick. So I don't think that's the thing for a game to be legendary.
Yeah,
you got to win. You got to win.
And a sneaky underrated one was the last time we beat Houston. And obviously it was previous coaching staff, but it was that place was bonkers that night. It was a fascinating time. That was the whole Dejan Giroux bite on Mamadou Diarra.
What a weird night.
Yeah, it was a wild night.
It was a weird night.
But yeah, I mean that, and yeah, even last year's Houston game was wild, loud. So
I'm so mad we didn't have the aftermath back then. Can you imagine how long we would have talked about a player being bitten by another player?
That was wild, just crazy. And then obviously, real quick, 20-game Big 12 slate. Bearcats picked round 6th and to finish in the Big 12. A lot of teams, obviously there's that upper tier of those 5 teams that are in the top 10, and then there's the Cincinnatis, the Texas Techs, the Kansas States, that second level. Do you kind of agree with that 6th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th slotting, or do you think that they can kind of break into that top 5 crust? And just a rough estimate on winning when it comes to the Big 12 slate.
Go ahead, boys. Ryan, you got it.
I think 6th is. I think it's fair because I think you're going to be scratching and clawing to beat those teams, like those top 5 teams. It's going to be hard to beat them once, yet alone twice, and then that means they're going to have to go like damn near perfect throughout the rest of the year and not have any slip ups. That's going to kind of get you right around that. That's what would have to happen for them to kind of break into the top 5. They'd have to beat any top 5 team above, like those upper teams that are ranked in the top 10. You'd have to beat them once at least, and that's hard to freaking do. And you can't mess up once. You can't have a West Virginia game like last year. So I think 6 is good because I think they're taking a next step, but I don't think they're going to be like it's going to be hard for even the elite teams to, like, so to say, run the table. I don't think they're anywhere near like running the table in the Big 12, but
yeah,
I think they're definitely a step ahead of last year. So I think it's kind of like that upper closing in on that top 5, but not really in there yet.
Yeah.
Aaron?
Well, I think preseason rankings are stupid, and I want to see
the
teams play. Yeah, I want to see the teams play. I don't know, especially in the transfer portal era, I don't know who anybody has, and if what they did last year is worth anything. I don't care about preseason rankings. Give me the games and let me see it play out.
So tell me if you think this is crazy. I think the winner of this league is like 14-6.
Not crazy. And would still be a 1 seed, probably. In the tournament. Well, without a doubt.
Mean, you're going to have, I haven't gone through schedule by schedule, but they're each going to have at least 5 games against a team that was top 10 preseason. Like every team in, up and down the entire conference. Because you're going to play everybody at least once. So, 4, 5, 6 games against those top teams. And then you're going to have nights where, you don't have it on the road and somebody jumps up and gets you.
Yep.
I don't see, and maybe it's Duke with Cooper Flag, but I don't see a dominant like team nationally. And I think that carries over into the Big 12 where those 5 teams that are in the top 10 are all like Houston returns pretty much everything but Shed.
Yeah.
And I think they did a pretty good job replacing him, but I think that's going to cost them a game or 2 in this conference, because if you go back and look, Jamal Shed won them like 4 or 5 games.
The heartbeat of that program for years.
So it's going to, if you do replace that, it's not going to happen instantaneously. Iowa State is probably the closest to like having what they had last year.
Yeah.
And running it back. But Kansas has a ton of turnover. Baylor, I think, is going to be really good, but they've got a bunch of turnover, and they're going to be relying again on a freshman to be a star. That worked last year, and VJ Edgecombe is awesome. Like, don't get me wrong, but
it's still a freshman.
Is he gonna be as good as what they got last year from a guy that's like some star quality, like some like potential in make an NBA All-Star game type potential. So, you worry about them a little bit. I don't know a ton about Arizona. Like, I know if you look at those top 100 lists, I think they really had the most out of anybody with like 3 guys on pretty much everyone I looked at.
Caleb Love, All-American returning, obviously, and then
but they got two foreign guys I don't know a lot about.
Voss, their big man,
that are expected to be really high level players. I think it's more likely they finish 7th or 8th than they do like 4th.
Yeah. Well, because then you have Iowa State who returns everybody.
That's what I said. I just covered that.
It's right. Yeah. No, I'm just saying. I don't know if you said it, but yeah, and then obviously, so that leaves that second level. But I think that they're more. I think they're closer to that top level than they are to the level behind them, if that makes sense.
I don't agree with that, because I think Texas Tech is going to be really good. I think Kansas State is got a chance to be pretty damn good. I think BYU has the talent to be really, really good. So I think they're right there with that group. I think the top 5, and then separation. I think Cincinnati is at the top of that second group.
Yeah.
But Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Kansas State, BYU, and there's always going to be a surprise team from the bottom.
Some people are saying UCF a little bit, which is, I mean, they've got a bonkers.
They've got their own parole officer.
Oh, dude, they've got some weird things going on there.
What happened?
I mean, they just got some.
What didn't happen?
They've got a couple guys on that roster, Ryan, that have actually been in jail. Been in jail.
And one that should probably still be, but we'll talk about that when UCF week comes at us. But I just think that it's, you hear about continuity being a main thing for Cincinnati. Well, you have 3 of the teams in the entire country that have the best continuity, all in the Big 12, with Cincinnati, Iowa State, and Houston. So, I mean, it's going to be hard to really break that crust. And obviously, you add in Arizona. I think Kansas had, Michael Boston said Trilly's not very high on Kansas. I saw him tweet something about he thinks they're going to be unranked at some point this season. So, but still, they have like Hunter Dickinson, who a lot of people was saying would be possible Big 12 player of the year, just because, best player on the best team type scenario.
He compiles a lot of stats.
Yeah, he does. Right, exactly.
It really, really matters. And then he's on a milk carton sometimes.
Yeah, right. For how much hate he gets, the man can put points up on the board and rebounds on the board.
He can put 23 and 15 on you real quick.
Right. Exactly. So each of these teams do kind of have a bit of a star type, like OJ Cryer on Houston, Lipsy at Iowa State, Caleb Love at Arizona, and then
Edgecombe at Baylor,
yeah. Even Roach at Baylor, even Norshad O'Meara at Baylor. It's just so if Cincinnati can do that, where Dan Skillings takes the leap, Seamoss Jizzle takes the leap, then you're talking there. But just baseline to be picked 6th in what I still consider the hardest conference in the country is just a remarkable tenure. So
the SEC is getting love because people think their bottom is going to be better than the bottom of the Big 12,
which is just sure. Thank you.
We'll see.
Yeah. Last question, then we'll riff and we'll mailbag it up. But tournament, yes or no? How deep tournament, yes or no? Royer, Aaron, Chad.
Yes, they make tournament. I think they make the Sweet 16.
Okay.
Yeah, I say tournament, second weekend for sure.
Okay. Maybe third weekend, Aaron.
They better be a tournament team, and comfortably. This, I'm not going to say a disappointment. I think it'll be a frustrating season if this is a team that we are talking about on the bubble for most of the season.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That means some things didn't go right. If you're talking about 10, 11, 12 seed, they have not achieved to their maximum level.
Right.
So I think this is a team that you want wearing a home uniform on round 1. And then, I think they win a game in the tournament, and then the rest is up to the draw.
Right.
It's hard to really make sense of any of it before we've even seen a game, especially in the transfer portal era. But this should be a team that is an 8 seed or better and moves on the first round of the tournament. And then from there, throw the chips on the table and see where the cards fall.
Wouldn't it be fun to watch some March basketballs with the sea paw in it?
Hey now. Damn. Woo! We're back.
We are back. So damn long.
It all starts tomorrow. Arkansas Pine Bluff, man. The last time the old what are they? The Lions, the Golden Lions, I believe.
The Pine Bluffers.
Yeah, the old bluff climb. The last time the Golden Lions, and that's it, came to Fifth Third Arena was back in the 2018-19 season. And of course, it was Bearcats taking home a massive win. How about this for the final score? I think we'll all take this. 105-49 was the final score in that one. And what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 players scored 9 points or more. 6 were in double figures, led by, let's see here, Justin Jennifer scoring 13. That was Jaron Cumberland, Trey Scott, Keith Williams. So, excitement abounds. Let's hope that the season gets off to a great start. Brent, the loudest new Fifth Third moment you guys ever experienced? Probably Temple, that Houston game, and then obviously this past season Texas was a pretty immaculate.
That place was shaking, like it was electric.
When you can hear the whole crowd yell "travel" on that last. That's an engaged locked in group, and obviously
everybody doing that.
Yeah, outcome was not what we wanted, but it was definitely electric. I mean, there's just a different vibe with those Big 12 teams, and it's like the Houston game over and over and over again when these ones are here. Yeah, Kenyon at half court. That Xavier game got loud too. When the banked in 3 by DDJ with and one, whatever. Let's just beat those dang on guys. All right, let's timestamp that. That's a whale of a basketball preview right there, and we'll riff and roll right into the mailbag.
Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They service over 150 restaurants with weekly low minimum next day deliveries, providing a wide range of food service products from to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick, 513-470-2029, and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases. That's my announcer voice that time.
That was good. In the Cincy Light Studios there, that's a good time to bust out the announcer voice. What I like to do as well, I like to bust out my excitement for the new Riffing with Royer segment. We missed it last week.
Go.
So we had my second favorite segment. It was new Riffing without Royer, but the boys back this week. The boys
we're super creative with the naming around here.
Yes.
Yeah. New Riffing without Royer. All right. Fiercely independent and unabashedly innovative, New Riff produces award-winning bourbon, rye whiskey, and gin at their distillery in Newport, Kentucky. The Aquafire tasting room, located on the 3rd floor of the distillery, features cocktails, flights, and pours of New Riff's entire line of spirits, including rare, limited edition, and distillery exclusive releases. Bearcat Journal listeners can save 50% on distillery tours when you use the code Bearcats24. For more information or to book a tour, visit newriffdistilling.com.
Boom, baby.
Yes. All right. Start out quick and easy. Who's the leading scorer tomorrow night?
Ooh, I like that question, actually.
Night.
Good duckery.
Tuckery.
So last year, Day was the leading scorer against UIC game 1 with 15.
I remember that, yeah.
Man, that's a good question.
I'm going to go Jizzle. I don't think they have anybody that can guard Jizzle.
Okay.
Jizzle will line him up. And he's coming off not a great scoring night against Ohio State. So, he might have his foot on the gas a little bit, especially early. Aaron?
Yeah. I think the answer is Jizzle, largely because I think that he's out to prove himself this season. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of hype around him, and I think that he's going to be out there to show people that he is the real deal.
And for that same reason, I'm going to say Dan Skillings Jr. I think he just wants to kind of just come out there, and I think he's going to have situations like you said, Chad, where no one can guard Dan Skillings Jr.
Yeah,
he's going to get downhill and just get easy lands for a quick 14 points and not play the final 10 minutes of the game. So
So you think 14 is the leading scorer?
I don't think 14 is the leading scorer at all.
7 players in double figures last time we played Arkansas Pine Bluff, and we scored 105 points. So yeah, I think they're going to be spreading that biscuit around, and obviously, like with Ohio State, I think Dylan Mitchell was the leading scorer with 12. So, but obviously a lot more interchangeable parts in that one.
Yeah.
All right. So let's say the starting lineup: Jizzle, Seamoss, Hickman.
No.
Wait, what did we have it at? It was Jizzle,
Dan, Seamoss, Dylan,
Seamoss,
and Aziz.
Dylan and Aziz.
Okay, so in order to keep Jizzle in the starting lineup, you have to take 2 guys out. What are the guys you're taking out of the starting lineup to keep Jizzle in it?
Go ahead, Brian.
What? So Hickman and CJ? Jizzle, Hickman, CJ?
Does my question make sense?
Not really.
So you had, the starting 5. What are the starting 5 we have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in order, let's say they got Jizzle on the chopping block. You're like, all right, if you want to keep Jizzle in the starting lineup, you have to take 2 other starters and replace him. So,
sicko mode. Here we go.
So, who do you exchange to keep Jizzle as a starter? That makes sense.
I would put Hickman at the 2. And then I would tell you to go fuck yourself. I'm keeping the other guys the way that they are.
That's not how it works.
I mean,
yeah,
it kind of is. I'm the boss.
Yeah.
I mean,
God, you just flipped this on its head, huh?
I did. I mean, I don't know where else, I guess you'd put CJ in at the
Hickman
3.
and CJ, and then you would take Dylan and Seamoss out, and then that second unit is
nasty,
pretty damn nasty. Day.
I would take Dan out and Seamoss out there. Dan out and Dylan out.
But then you have no shooting off the bench, which I mean.
Then you have no rebounding in your starting lineup.
Well, you got Dan and Aziz.
I would take Jizzle out of the starting lineup and put it in Day and not have to take 2 people out.
That's a good answer, Aaron.
How about you chop that block? How about you chop that block, Royer?
I think you got it right. I think Aaron got it right. Ding.
I like it.
I'm keeping the other guys the same, and I'm bringing Jizzle in with 18 minutes and 32 seconds on the clock.
Nailed it.
All right. Next question. All right. So, who do you trust with the half shot with your life on the line? Who do you think is going to bang that in for you?
With the half court shot?
Yeah.
No one. I'm dead.
CJ Frederick.
Dead.
CJ.
Yeah. I'll go Seamoss.
Is CJ all the way healthy in this scenario?
Yes. CJ is healthy.
All right.
Seamoss
healthy
is
right
not
now.
Struck by a car.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll say Seamoss just because, I'm gonna tell Seamoss, listen, ice in your veins moment right now. I am gone if you do not make this half court shot. and then you just pray. You just sit there and you pray. So.
Chad, who have you seen make a half-court shot?
And most of them have, but they just joke around and do that a lot. That's not. And it's you're just kind of flinging it at the rim, right? I think Seamoss or CJ would actually, and maybe Connor would actually have
square up and shoot.
It's still going to be it's not going to be a jumper from half court, but
Tyler
I think
Betsy in the gym range.
We haven't. Have we even mentioned Tyler Betsy's name at one point in the first hour and 34 minutes of this podcast?
No.
Nope. That was the first one.
We suck.
We
I thought about him.
I mean, yeah, but like it's just the team is too deep, but which is going to be fascinating to see. It's like
I thought about him.
Like the rotations is we didn't even mention Josh Reed. Josh Reed got valuable Big 12
or
minutes
Raybon
last year.
Really,
Raybon we touched on a little bit about his rebounding. So yeah, Tyler Betsy. Let's have him lead the team in scoring tomorrow night. Just to
right?
Throw everyone on their head. Be like,
just come in and hit like 4 threes with the second unit.
Like, wait a minute, what? Tyler Betsy? But yeah, I mean that's another guy that is just getting a lot of love from a lot of people saying that he's got a great future. So let's see.
If Tyler or Kane Broom or Tyler's family was watching this, we apologize because we should have brought him up like 82 minutes ago.
But we're bringing it up right now. Tyler Betsy. I've heard some NBA guys are keeping a small eye on how Tyler Betsy does in his first year in the collegiate game. So
yeah, he's 6'8" and he can shoot the shit out of it. Like
exactly.
Long arms.
Exactly.
Smart basketball player. Like that's a guy that the NBA is gonna track.
And
scouts doing their job. So strange.
It was pretty impressive to see it. He kind of had the ball in his hands a lot in that Ohio State exhibition game. It wasn't like he was just like stand there in the corner and we'll work the ball around you for a shot. He was kind of handling the rock a good amount. He grabbed that one rebound and brought it up the court. So I mean, you're showing some versatility out of the young lad. I'm excited to see.
And the thing is, he might not be a guy we talk about a lot in November that we could talk about a lot in February.
Right.
Where, damn, Tyler Betsy came off the bench and hit 2 threes in a critical stretch that like pushed the game one way or the other. Got him back in it or took a 6-point lead and made it 12, like whatever the case may be. He can impact it with his shot at that level.
Yeah. Agreed.
Sorry, Kane. My bad.
Love you, Betsy. Love you, Kane. Royer, you got that fun one you were telling me about, bro?
No, I kind of forget. It was a long night on that scratch off tab. So,
dude, man. Oh yeah, that's right. You were talking about like all that candy you were eating from Halloween. You were like, "Yo, Brent, like, what is like your most favorite Halloween candy that you get in your bag?" And I was like, "Bro,
oh yeah,
that's a good question, but save that for the BBP when we rip with Royer, bro."
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead and ask it real quick, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, what is your guys' favorite Halloween candy? You guys remember?
So go ahead and ask it, bro. I mean, the best Halloween candy is Reese Cups. Like, let's not fool ourselves. Like, the big three are the big three: Reese Cup, Snickers, Twix. Like that's
Kit Kat.
Kit Kat is probably 4. Kit Kat is right there.
I love the power rankings we have.
Those, if you want to go big 4, Brent, those are the big 4.
The Mount Rushmore.
All right, so let's
categories. You have separate categories then for your chocolate candy versus your fruit candy, because the fruit candy is also very good when you're talking about things like Starburst or Skittles or Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah.
Lifesaver gummies.
So we're debating 5 right now. So what is 5?
I mean, bro, low-key, I like a good Almond Joy or a Baby Ruth, too. I mean, shoot.
Disgusting. You're gross.
Mounds.
Almond Joy.
Mounds, the dark chocolate one. No,
anything with Mounds is just Almond Joy with coconut, right?
Get out.
Sucks.
I want fake fruit flavor stuff, not actual fruit in my candy. Dude, I tell you what though, those damn pumpkin Reese's, I could eat about 1,000 of them. Yeah, like those are just that's a good tasty treat right there.
Anything Reese's is like that's the number one pick. Like that when you
those
dump
seasonal
out
Reese's though, that's some next level right there. Like give me that seasonal boy. Like sometimes we do it in my friend group. We just send videos of how many seasonal Reese's you can eat in like I think we do 10 seconds normally and just slam them in real fast. We didn't do it.
Do you want to know my hot take? My hot Halloween candy take or candy take?
What you got?
Peanut butter Snickers is better than regular Snickers.
Okay, I don't think that's too hot of a take. That's a pretty solid take. What about peanut butter Twix?
I like the caramel and Twix. So peanut butter Twix are good, but they're not better than the original.
Okay. Royer, are you like Team Sour Patch Kids? Like, what are you doing down there, man? What's your number one?
I love
your number
Take
one?
Fives.
Take Five is fire.
My number one is Reese's. Number two, Twix. I think 3 is maybe Kit Kat.
Oh, you're a Twizzler guy, aren't you? You like that?
I do not like Twizzlers now. Are you asking my favorite fruit candy?
Oh, you like candy corn, don't you? Yeah, you do.
Nah, not really, man. I used to like
Nerd clusters are pretty strong. Nerd clusters.
Dude. My girlfriend's
giving out nerd
obsessed with
clusters.
those.
What house is giving out nerd clusters?
You got to go to the gated
My
community.
girlfriend will eat a whole bag of those things.
You got to head to the gated community for those, right?
Yeah, I guess so, man.
Put yourself up in Dublin coffin for those, man.
That Indian Hill.
Get the Indian Hill tasty. I get mad though, like Twizzlers, like what is it, Whoppers, like the milk.
I like Whoppers.
I like Whoppers and Milk Duds. Like I enjoy those.
That's some trash. Give me the Mounds, the Almond Joys.
That just sounds funny. Give me the Mounds. You want some Mounds?
Yeah, baby.
I'll give a good Mound.
That tasty dark chocolate, coconut filling.
Unbelievable.
Heyday.
Moving on.
Let's keep it moving.
Let's keep it rocking.
Quick paper supply.
You knocked it out of the park with that one, brother.
I can't believe I always forget one every week, man. Thanks for always helping me out.
I got you.
You're the best.
I love too that Brent like puts it under the guys. Remember we texted about that? Remember that one time? And then he's like, okay, go ahead and ask it.
Yeah. That's what I'm here for. Help a
Quick
brother
Paper
out.
Supply, your local and family and restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They service over 150 restaurants with weekly low minimum next day deliveries. They have products like to-go containers, cups, pizza boxes, to-go bags, can liners, napkins. They've been open since 2009 and are one of the largest minority-owned companies in the city. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases.
Boom, baby. Hey, Aaron.
Can we just let's go ahead and make this the Cincy Light mailbag?
Yeah,
drink Cincy Light.
There we go. Pretty damn easy.
Like go get it.
A lot of Cincy Light.
Drink a lot of Cincy Light.
Cincy Lights. You know, that's my favorite thing. You know, after game day, with all these noon kickoffs, you've got like the whole rest of the day to just pound Cincy Light, and I have been able to do that. So
proud of you.
Yeah, I'm excited for this Saturday. Following with the Friday game, you got Saturday square off against West Virginia, and not much football talk on this one. Obviously, Chad will have more football talk on the BCJ pod and the other shows throughout the week. Big one against West Virginia coming up this weekend. Obviously, a chance to go bowling in year 2 at the Scott Satterfield era. So there's a lot of excitement still on the football side of things, but basketball is here, man. We had to really do this. But Aaron, let's mailbag it, brother.
Light mailbag because, well, I forgot because it's Sunday and didn't have it up until 3:00. So here we go with the light mailbag. But starting off in football, I know coaches usually let someone on their staff do their vote in the coaches poll. Who could be giving Arizona State 17 votes? What a joke.
It's usually like the chief of staff or somebody that, you know, is like one step below the head coach. I've honestly never, like, I think there's been 1 or 2 coaches that have come out and said, like, over the years, like, I take it seriously, like, I'm going to vote. But 99% of them have somebody on staff do the deed.
Right. And I feel like when it comes to some of those, like, you know, you got to rank somebody. I mean, like Vanderbilt has 3 losses, they're ranked. Like, it's just you got to throw some things out.
The other thing,
go ahead.
Cincinnati did not see Arizona State with their starting quarterback.
Right.
Like, I think we look at that game and think a little less of them, but we did not see them with Jeff Sims. They are clearly not a top 25 team.
Right.
With their starting quarterback, they've been pretty damn good.
Agreed.
Okay.
And it's a fun story too. And Cam Scatterby went off this past weekend. So, 150 rushing yards and 100 receiving yards. I think you get a little notoriety there, and then you say, "Wow, yeah,
Baller."
Well,
He's still mad about Cincinnati. Evan Pryor is averaging 9.2 yards per carry and 16.5 yards per reception. He leads the team in both categories. He dances in the end zone every 8 touches, yet averages a mere 5.0 touches per game. For the love of God and all things holy, can one of you guys let Sat know that Pryor needs 10 touches per game?
Maybe the reason he's been really good is because they are using him very strategically,
effectively.
Yeah.
And, the coaches are managing him properly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the game at Texas Tech, when Kiner went out, he got extra touches and he got a little banged up as well. They had to turn, all the way down to put
Manny Covey.
Victor Dawson. Manny Covey. Yeah.
Covey. Yeah. So
I think some of his stats are like, when you have like those big long runs, like sometimes those are caused by just flat out like fatal errors on the defense. Not that he didn't like do anything like good on that play, but like sometimes those stats can be overinflated by like having how many 60+ yard touchdowns has he had?
I think it was
four.
Yeah. And a lot of those plays, like it's when you're just running untouched, not that he like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but like there's times we've seen Corey Kiner do like supernatural things and only gain like 4 yards. But like sometimes your stats can be like fluffed up when you have those type of like four plays of 60+ and like you only have X amount of plays. So it's not that he's not doing as well. I think just sometimes that when you look at it, you just look at the numbers. I mean, I think we're better off handing the ball to Corey still, and I think we should focus on getting him as many touches as possible before we think about, let's get Pryor more. But not trying to shit on Evan or anything, but I think you just got to remember some of where the stats are coming from.
If Evan Pryor is listening or his family, his name is Ryan Royer. That's the one coming for your neck. Ryan Royer.
I'm just saying, man, we don't need to be worried about like we don't need to be, we need to get him like more touches. I think we just need to keep doing what we're doing. And I need to focus on Corey because he's RB1 for a reason. And he's a real special right back.
I think you probably could have stopped talking all the way back he got dinged up in that game where he came in for Corey with the extended touches. Just knowing his injury history and what he's gone through to even get to this point. I think they're using him clearly well as he's found the end zone as many times as he has. So I don't know. I think they're using him well. I don't know that 10 touches at the cost of taking away touches from Corey is what we need to be doing. Have you talked to the staff at any of the new former Pac-12 boards to see what they feel the differences are between Pac-12 and Big 12 football are? What did they say?
No. I haven't. Like, I haven't. Like, it takes a lot of time to worry about us and all of this. So, no, I haven't reached out to any of the Pac-12 guys to get their thoughts on the Big 12. I would imagine outside of, Arizona State, like Colorado, like those two are okay. So really the only two would be Utah and Arizona. I would guess that they're not having a lot of fun. I would guess it's a league where you're coming from the Pac-12 where there was a lot of kind of separation. There were some bad teams at the bottom of the Pac-12. The top was pretty good, but you knew there were going to be 3-4 games in that schedule where if you didn't play your best, you could still win. That is not the case in this conference. I think that is what the newbies learned last year, and the newbies are learning this year. You better bring it every Saturday, or things can go south real quick.
I do think that's a big miss, though, on 247 Sports' part, is to not have a yearly conference where all of you knuckleheads get together, because I can only imagine the stories that you and Jason Shearer would have to share.
Okay, but we're not going to do it in like week 8 of the regular season.
I'm just saying, you should have done it in the off season, kind of like the winter meetings. I'm just saying.
Well, they do that. It's like Big 12 Media Days is where that happens. I've just been sending Keegan because
I don't want
a teenager to raise.
I want it to be like an actual 247, all of the 247 people together.
That could be pretty fun.
I think it'd be hilarious.
Okay.
Be like Comic-Con. That's the end of the football mailbag. Let's move on to the basketball portion of the mailbag. Are you still expecting another Davion Hannah visit?
Maybe. I mean, the hay's in the barn, I think, at this point in time, for the most part. Like, is the money there? Is the money not there? Like can UC get close to what? Actually, the funny thing is that, like, I think Ohio State probably has the second highest offer, just from talking to people around the industry. I think Missouri is still way up here and everybody else is down here a little. Can they get close? Can they get enough in the ballpark? After, Drew Adams going up there on Friday, I'm guessing like those were things that were discussed, and that he might not, but I don't think it moves the needle either way. I think the Hannah family knows everything they need to know about Drew Adams and Wes Miller and Cincinnati. Like, if they're going to come here, it's not going to be because they took a last-minute visit. We'll see. We're in the home stretch. Signing day is next Wednesday. I think it's the second Wednesday of every November. So we're close. Like, we'll see how it closes out. I think there's a possibility he could come, but I wouldn't read too much into it if he doesn't, because I just don't think it's gonna, I don't think it's gonna be like some game changing. Let's put it this way. He went to Alabama and didn't commit to Alabama. He went to Missouri and didn't commit to Missouri. Like, he didn't, those trips didn't make any additional influence on where this thing was already at. Like, I think for Cincinnati, it comes down to, are they in the ballpark in NIL? If they do, I think they got a great chance. If it's a money thing and they're not in the ballpark, then, they'll probably go somewhere else.
I'm seeing November 13th for signing day. But
yes, Wednesday.
Yeah. But
next Wednesday.
Aaron, you did miss one last question in the mailbag, football mailbag, which I think is pretty fun question. So it's the most infuriating Cincinnati related broadcast: Colorado Tulane basketball game that looked like it was broadcast on a 90s, naughty channel. Howard basketball, Bowling Green State basketball back in the day, if you remember. Or Akron football back in the Kelly days with the student cameraman that missed every other play, including the final field goal that inevitably won the game.
I listened to that Akron game from Kelly's like family down in outside of Nashville. We were at dinner down seeing her family, and I went and sat in the car and listened to the 700 WLW broadcast of the game. So I did not get to see that broadcast. I had Dan and Jim. Don't ever say a bad word about that Bowling Green broadcast. It was
legendary.
Phenomenal.
Legendary.
It was maybe the best broadcast I've ever watched.
I would watch it again, like right now.
I would too. Absolutely.
If it was available.
What was her name? The sideline reporter?
Forget. There's pictures floating out there.
I know. Colorado just was.
The Howard game was funny too.
Mouse in the house.
Mouse in the house.
Mouse in the house.
But like
he used it at all the wrong times. It wasn't actually when there was a mouse in the house.
And that one wasn't even his fault. Like that was circumstantial that radio broadcast was even put together.
Right.
Didn't someone not show up or something?
No, it just there was going to be no broadcast because
there it is. Okay,
Howard doesn't have like an ESPN Plus, like they're in a smaller conference.
So they were just
then Cincinnati was like, "Hey, we'll run your student broadcast on ESPN Plus." It wasn't great. Colorado was so bad just because it was.
It's a commercial.
You can't miss plays, important plays in a game, because you're just trying to empty the clip of like B-roll stories that you've got. Like, no, like the broadcast was just borderline. Like you expect a Bowling Green student broadcast or a Howard student broadcast, you expect them to be not at the highest quality.
Unpolished.
That was ESPN 1, the main ESPN channel, and it was almost unwatchable.
It was ESPN Plus quality on ESPN.
It was Flow Sports quality on ESPN.
Pay $15 for one game.
I think Bowling Green is the answer. I think that
was the best one ever, you schmuck.
Well, no, I mean like that was my favorite one.
This says most infuriating. You answered the question wrong.
Was the Akron one? Was that when like Chaz Anderson was playing at quarterback, and like because everyone was getting hurt? I remember I just hated that game overall, to be honest. It was like, gosh, we're good, but we have Chaz Anderson playing quarterback right now. But yeah, Howard, just because I was just angry about the game, because imagine if we lost that freaking Howard game. Jeez. But no, I think the answer is definitely Colorado's. Go ahead, Aaron. Sorry.
Dreadful. Sorry, that was a late edition, so I didn't see it. If Day-Day is held out Monday, who is the first to replace Jizzle at point guard when he rests? CJ Anthony or Hickman or CJ Frederick?
Hickman.
What?
Yep.
Yeah. And it's not even close. He was brought in to be a combo guard, and a combo guard he will be.
Mm-hmm.
With the 20-game conference schedule with no bye week, do you have any concerns the Big 12 may be cannibalizing each other and potentially hurting our conference teams going into March Madness?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How can you not?
Kind of saw it last year. Those teams were pretty beat up, man. You know, like Houston, obviously they could have easily gone to the Final Four if they didn't face the injury issues, but I mean they were pretty beat up.
That was 18 games in 20 dates. So 10 weeks, 20 dates, 2 dates a week. That was 18 games in 20 dates. This is 20 games in 20 dates. There are going to be, let's be honest here, there are going to be decisions that have to be made on, like, do we sit this guy out for 2 games?
Right.
Do we, like, this guy rolled his ankle, or this guy sprained his knee, or this guy, like, jammed his thumb or hurt his wrist, or like, and you're going to have to decide, is it better over these 20 games to have this guy sit for a week or a week and a half, like whatever the case may be.
Right.
Those are not going to be easy decisions.
All right. Lepore going to be back to break down film with Chad?
I think there's a good chance of that. Yes, we're in negotiations, Chris and I. He wanted to know that. He wanted to know that the fans. Yes, we're getting there. Like we got to work out a time. Try to find like you know what's good news for everybody. I think we are close to getting back having a weekly Wes Miller like press conference in between games that we have not had for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think especially as we get into conference play, there's a pretty good chance that we get that, which means there's an extra day that I'm going to be on campus doing media stuff. So Chris and I are going to have to like thread the needle on, when we do something like that. Hopefully like we can work out like every Monday, something along those lines to get that done. But Chris is very busy, and it's going to be a challenge. But I do think there is a very good chance that we'll have Chris back breaking down tape every week.
Boom, baby.
All right. I'm offering you a 10-point win over Xavier and a narrow second-round loss in the 4-5 game in the tournament. Sitting here today, you taking that as a successful outcome for this season?
I think that's really tough because I think they could do it if you didn't guarantee like a 10-point win over X, a narrow second round loss. Like, I think I'm rolling dice. I think I'm taking my chances.
Yeah.
If this team's as good as we think it is,
right,
we should be aiming higher than a win over X. And yeah, I mean, I don't think you need the second round, especially if you're in a 4-5 game.
True.
I feel like there's two different things being asked here. Is that a successful outcome for the season? Yes, I think that would be successful because you got to the tournament, you made it to the second round.
And if you're a 4 or 5 seed, you had a pretty damn good year.
Sure. I think that is a successful outcome for the season. That said, I'm with you. I think if you're offering me that or question mark for how the season goes, yes. I'm with you, but I think that there were two different things that were being asked here, and I'm not even sure that AC Mazzaro realized what they were asking here.
No, I think I think it's a legitimate question. Would you take that and walk away from the season happy? Probably. But yeah, I mean, I think they can do better. Natty Ron, we have been talking about basketball for 2 hours, and you just got here. You have been begging us to talk about basketball for weeks, months, the entire offseason, and you're not here the night that we just talked about basketball for 2 hours.
Last question in the mailbag before we get out of here. Who is more ready to contribute, AP or Zealot?
I mean, AP's played in America before, like, a season of college basketball under his belt. Alvin is 20, 21. He's played internationally at an incredibly high level as the captain of his team. That wasn't like the star of his team. So, it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
I hope the answer is AP, but
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. He's been far better than I expected.
Right.
Like when I've seen practice on what I expected when he was coming in. And he's got a lot more experience than AP does.
Yeah.
AP missed a bunch of his freshman year or was hindered through a bunch of his freshman year with mono. So like he didn't get that full freshman year experience where, they say the biggest leap is from freshman to sophomore year. He didn't play enough, I don't think, to like really like, and I do think he's going to see some improvement. Like I will say last week was the best practice I've seen him have when we were there, when I was there Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like, who has played more basketball at a really high level, like been involved in high level games? It's probably Halvey.
Yeah,
probably is.
Good problem to have is what we'll call it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the mailbag. Get us out of here, Brent.
Basketball's back, guys. Bearcat basketball is back.
Or Natty Ron. He got
Natty Ron. Natty Ron, you got to just spin this track after we post
Natty Ron
it.
did. He did.
Love it.
He's in Arizona, and he did make it for the brunch this morning. So I don't know what schedule Natty Ron's on.
Let's go, Natty Ron. Let's go.
Oh,
baby.
Shit.
Yeah, just spin this back, man. It's good. Good little pod. A lot of Tyler Betsy talk too. So, make sure you tune into that. But I tell you what, man, Bearcat basketball is back. I'm beyond excited, and we brought you a full daggone preview here in the Cincy Light Studios, BCJ, BVP. So, shouts and congratulations to all of us people who endured yet another offseason without Bearcat basketball. But guys, one more sleep and we are there. Just one final night rest. So shout to Danco Transmission and Auto Care. Shouts to Quick Paper Supply for their timestamps. Shouts to my boy Ryan Royer in my favorite segment, New Riffing with Royer. Shouts to New Riff. And for my guys, pals, the crew, Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, Ryan Royer. I am Brent Young. Yet another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.